At Shirley Lou and Associates, powered by First Financial Security, our mission is to help all people achieve financial security and peace of mind.
My team and I are here to help you reach financial security tomorrow and for generations to come.
She is one of the most sincere and compassionate people that I will ever meet in my life. She sincerely wants to build a legacy where no young woman that she meets is left destitute, that they are able to be self-sufficient, to provide for a family in an emergency, to build for their future and for future generations.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, we are changing the face of insurance and retirement plans. Our mission is to lead, empower, and grow. We are the home of tax-free retirement. We provide comprehensive planning for businesses, rollovers for retirees, and individual personal financial planning.
I'm a very people-oriented person. It's important for me to make sure my clients feel in a safe environment, make sure I feel in a safe environment, that I can trust the people that I'm working with. And I feel that here working with Shirley and my team. These people are more like family to me.
Shirley has donated time and resources to the Shelter House, Women of Good Works, Good 360, Women That Soar, local churches, and the Lisa Initiative. The Lisa Initiative helps inform, educate, and empower women and their families' financial security. We believe entrepreneurship is a possibility for all walks of life.
Reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation to see how we can help.
Well, we're here with the Shirley Lou Show, and as always, we've got some amazing guests and some amazing folks that are coming in from her organization that are talking about fiscal literacy and, of course, financial health and financial things that you need to have in place if you're going to go through life. And, of course, budgeting is one of those. And, of course, we know a number of times we don't do enough around budgeting, and that is something that can be very much lacking in our life. And a lot of times we don't have the right kinds of coverages and the right kinds of other things that are very much a necessary part of our life, whether that is life insurance, whether that is medical insurance, or whether that is a number of other kinds of insurances that are out there. And I've actually had the pleasure several years back of being involved with a Telemundo that was involved in the Latin American community, and that was one called Nuestro Barrio. And I do know that as part of that community, sometimes there can be things that are happening in that community, just like in the African American community, that can be very much detrimental to people's fiscal health and all in that space. I do know that there have been times of people having to deal with predatory lending, which, while it was a telenovela and a soap opera, that was one of the main things that my friend Dilsey and others were doing when they created that telenovela some time back. And we do know that there are a number of folks that are still doing things around that predatory lending space, as well as a number of folks in both the Latin American and the African countries that are still using prepaid phones and other things that may not be of the best sort of things that you might want to be using. Sometimes they can be for convenience sake. Sometimes it can be just a way that you can reach your folks that are in other parts of the world, be that Colombia, be that Venezuela, be that Nigeria, be that Ghana, or wherever the case may be. So I'm going to bring on Rina Ramos, who I know comes out of that Latin American culture, if I'm understanding correct in everything, and also learn more about how she got involved in the world of banking and finance. So that was just some of my initial thoughts as I was bringing her on, and just some of the things that I might be talking to her about as well. But definitely want to learn more about Miss Ramos and how she even got involved in the wonderful world of insurance and the wonderful world of financing, because I do know that some cultures are very much about trying to make sure that they are saving those pennies, and sometimes they can do it by even having large families and having those families be working as a unit and all in that space. So I do know that that can sometimes happen in the Latin cultures, but in other cultures as well. So just wanted to learn more about you, Ms. Ramos, and even how you got involved in this lovely space of finances and how you got involved with Shirley. So I guess the first thing that I've got to find out from you, for our international audience, is how did you even get involved with this? Were you the young lady that was selling the Girl Scout cookies at a very young age, or were you the one that got into finances much later in life?
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me tell you first, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really happy, to be able to share with you and all your audience, my experience. And yeah, well, let me tell you, yeah, I wasn't one of those, girls, Boy Scouts or anything like that. No, totally different.
Right.
Let me tell you, first, I'm not that young, okay?
Okay.
So it happens that everything starts, I would say, almost 3 decades ago. I came to this country. I'm an immigrant, Latino immigrant, originally from Honduras.
Mhm.
And well, I came to this country, I would say, not really seeking for the American dream.
Right.
But when I came, pretty quickly, I met my husband, my ex-husband now, and that caused that allowed me to stay in the country and just made my life here. It wasn't totally in my plans, but that's how it really happened. As I said, I'm from Honduras, and being here in this country was totally, I would say, a shock for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know the language, I didn't know the culture, I didn't know so many other things. But I had to put roots in and start living. And it is very, very interesting nowadays because as a typical Latino, okay, I found that we have, most of us, we have so many things in common, right? And it wasn't ever in my plan to become a financial professional. Honestly, I didn't even know what I wanted. I'm originally an accountant back in my country. And but I came here, I became a wife, then a mother, and I became a business owner with my ex-husband for so many years until the 2008 economy crash.
Right.
That was, I will say, a turning point for my life because I really experienced hardship, economic hardship then, and not only that, emotional and all of the above. I mean, everything. So I found myself, I will say, obligated to look for some other, routes, some other ways of, providing or helping to provide for my family. So the first thing that appeared, in front of me was the opportunity of working as a certified nursing assistant, actually as a caregiver, which within the next year I became a certified nursing assistant with a state license and all that. So I started working hard, and sometimes 8 to 12 hours a day. I was part of that, workforce after, having been a business owner. It was kind of hard. And then I had my 2 daughters, a baby, one was 7 years old, the other one was just born baby. And, time was tough, during those days, our economy was tough. Everything was expensive. I felt that everything was, hard for me. So there is when I started to really develop myself, not only as a mother, wife, but also, looking to see, to become a professional some way. I knew that in my heart and in my mind, I knew that I had potential, a lot of potential to do something. I wanted, to really not only provide for my family and myself, but I wanted to do something else, for the community, my community. Okay. So, but I didn't know what to do. And, but when I think that I believe so much in the law of attraction and energy and, all that stuff. And I started reading. I always, love to read and, get informed and just learn. Right. So I came across with Bob Proctor. And I started reading and learning from Bob Proctor. And, I read the Think and Grow Rich. And that definitely, gave me I would say a twist, to my life, to, my way of thinking. And why do I bring this up? Because as a Latino, coming from a third world country. Okay, over there, most we don't have much really, and we don't have the mentality of abundance. Rather we have the mentality of lack and poverty, because we have to think, that we need to get, or we need to live with what we can get, and so it's our mentality over there is totally different, to the mentality that we acquire here. So having said that, it was already hard for me being in a country with a totally different, system, and having the language barrier, mentality barrier, probably still, economic conditions here that weren't, the best ones. It was very, very challenging. So, but I never lost hope. I kept on always looking, and just giving that next step, because honestly, I think most of us, we don't even know what is going to happen tomorrow or after tomorrow. We all have dreams, expectations. Some we have purpose, but we are not really certain, because we really don't own our future. We own our today, right? So, I knew that. And so I kept on going. I kept on living one day at a time. And I did what I could with what I had. Okay. Yeah. And it wasn't
yeah, definitely a lot of things you're bringing to attention that I definitely want to unpack and talk about it and everything. But one of the things that you just mentioned earlier and everything was the fact that you had thought about going into accounting when you were over there in Honduras and everything. And I was just wondering, what was it about accounting that was attracting to you through that kind of a job at that particular time when you were a young lady and were thinking about going into careers, and what made you be having that appeal around accounting? And then you also mentioned that there was an ex-husband and that y'all had a business together, and I was just curious as to what kind of business that was and whether the business moved here to the States as well.
Well, yes, absolutely. I went into accounting, let me tell you, for one reason, basically. Since we didn't have much to pick from, in my country, once I finished high school, I only had two choices. Either I went into accounting, or I went for a bachelor's, social bachelor, or something like that. So I picked accounting because, it was related to, numbers, economy, finances, and all that. So, and I like money, and I wanted to learn about it. I didn't know up to what extent, but I knew that I wanted to know. I knew that money is important in everyone's life. So I wanted just, to know. So I said, okay, I have only two routes. I'll pick this one. So I picked that one. I didn't have the opportunity to really practice, and work, because, pretty soon after I came to this country, and, I got married. Then my ex-husband, he was he is a HVAC technician, and an expert in appliance repairs and all that stuff. So pretty soon after we got married, we decided, okay, we should open up a business. And we were very, very successful. Let me tell you, we had, a few employees. We were not a big business, but I used to, run the business from home. We had an office at home, and I used to run the business. Even with my lack of English, we still managed, to get into the, American community. That wasn't really an obstacle. We just did it. And I was the one in charge of the phone, making deals with the clients, working, doing the paperwork in the office. So, we did it for about 12 years. And we did pretty well until, something happened. The economy went down, and that really, took a hit on us. And we had to actually file bankruptcy.
Wow. What was one of the things that surprised you the most about running a business and everything? Because I know a lot of times folks are surprised by business owners, and there are definitely a lot of small businesses out there, and there are programs to help the different business communities, sometimes even niche communities like the African American and the Latin American communities. But as a business owner, what were some of the things that surprised you about being a business owner?
Well, actually, surprised. Well, so many things because being in this country, living in a system and not knowing it, it has a lot of challenges, right? But as I said before, challenges, don't stop me. Actually, they encourage me. So I went ahead, and I started investigating how can I do it? What can I do it? And something that I realize now that I can put a word on it, but I didn't know before, although I did it, is leverage.
Right.
You leverage people, you leverage the knowledge of people. So I started asking around, asking friends. These friends, connect me with this professional, with this CPA, and everything, started coming together until we were able to start. But honestly, I think that being a business owner, it is one of the easiest, if not the best way to become to have that financial freedom that we all look for. It is very hard. I will say almost impossible to be a 9 to 5 worker and really making something better or else with your life. So I realized pretty quickly that if you have your small business, even if it's a small business, it is even better. It does way better than being a 9 to 5 worker. Although I know that that's what we know, and that's what we have learned, and that's what we are being taught, that it is okay. I think it is okay until certain point, but then you have to start realizing somehow that that's not the only way, and that's very, very hard. I mean, it's even harder for us that we come from countries that it is surviving, it is hard, and then, but still, for people that lives here, that were born here, I see it a lot. I see it every day. I'm surprised that I am seeing born Americans living in financial, economical hardship, that they don't know better than I do, that I came from. Yeah, it is really amazing. I mean, it's really surprising.
No,
So
that's a couple of things that you brought up that I would love to hear your opinions and thoughts about. But one of them is you did mention that your business, when you had it with the ex-husband, had filed for bankruptcy. And I know that they say that restaurants, and a lot of restaurants, are notorious for failing, that they've got like some ridiculously high rate of failure. But I do know some people that have been in that business, and sometimes they will file for bankruptcy and still wind up opening multiple restaurants, because sometimes bankruptcy can be something that can be seen as a tool to keep the business running, or to at least to start a new business. So I was just wondering, when you learned about the bankruptcy, did y'all ever think about going back into business, and what are your own opinions about that kind of strategy? Because I know some people that have filed for bankruptcy and then you turn around and they've got another business years later at everything that might be in the same field, or it might be in a different field.
yes, well, something that I always say and think is that we live in a system, but we don't know it. Okay. And this is for everybody, for us foreigners, and for natural Americans.
Right.
So it depends. It depends because in my case, I saw bankruptcy. First, I saw it like something very, very negative, because of course you're seeing yourself, falling down, to the ground with everything, being left with almost nothing, and that it is hard. But then, it depends. You can see the glass halfway empty or halfway full. It's up to you. In my case, I am a very, very positive person, and I try to see the positive side of everything. So I realized, bankruptcy is a fresh start for me, and my family. So I know that. As I said, it depends on how people see it. But for me, it took me, let me tell you, after I filed bankruptcy back in 2008, I actually that situation not only brought, economical hardship, but also ended with my marriage.
Right.
And I was left with two kids, little kids, and with bad credit, with bankruptcy in my credit, with a full-time job, more than a full-time, because I used to work 12 hours a day, earning the bare minimum here, which was $9 an hour, and having to pay, more, no mortgage, rent, having to pay for utility bills, and bring food to the table, So it was really hard for me. I had the help, from my ex-husband, but it still wasn't enough. So I really had to step up and once again, start, looking around me and realizing that, I wanted more. I wanted more in life. I had the potential to do more. And I said, I said one day, you know what? I'm going to buy me another house, because I had lost my previous house. We had lost vehicle. We had lost business, everything, with the bankruptcy. So I was left with nothing. But I said, you know what? I can do anything I put my mind into. So I said one day, I'm going to get ready and I'm going to buy my house. So I got ready within a year and a half. Within a year and a half, I was buying, not from the bankruptcy, but from the time I decided that I was going to do it, which was, I think, let me see, like 3 years after, So I started, looking for information, again, leveraging, looking for information and trying my best, with the money that I used to make, which was very, very little. And I got ready to buy again. So I bought a house, and then, I kept on working. I found a better job. So this is the reason I think it doesn't matter where you are, where you come from. There is always, a tomorrow. You can always give that next step, even though you don't know where that step is going to be. Just go ahead and do it. And that's what I did, and in every single aspect of my life. Then, I just went ahead and started looking for information and looking deep into my, finances then. And then I realized, no, even if it seems very little, that adds up,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know that one of the other things that is sometimes thought about in the Latin American culture and everything is this whole notion of machismo and things along those lines. So I do have some friends that have been involved in non-traditional businesses. Actually, I have a friend of mine that is African American descent that is in the construction business and everything. And she's talked to me a couple of times about what she's gone through in that space. So I just wondered, did that play any kind of negative impact on your business when you were the one that was the main lady there in charge? I know it was you and your ex-husband, but definitely there was a lot of times when people were getting payroll or they were getting everything else, they were coming to you, and you are a Latin woman and everything. So I was just wondering if that was something that you ran across as well, because I know when I talked to my friend Tracy, she sometimes talks about that being something that she has run across as the owner. And ironically, she had the business originally with her husband or ex-husband now as well, and now she is running it on her own as a single woman and everything. And I think that she's changed the name and all in that space, but her ex-husband is no longer in the picture. But I was just wondering if that has played a role in some of your conversations and some of your business growth as well.
Okay, I didn't get I don't know if I get the main idea of the question. So can you repeat it?
Oh, no problem. I was just asking, in terms of being a business owner, if the concept of machismo, because I do know that a lot of times in the Latin American culture, there's this idea of the man always being in charge and everything, if that was something that was a negative impact when you were part of the business leadership.
Well, I would say no, not to me. Because, as I said again, it depends on how you see the situation, and I think it's not really much of what there is out there, but how you take it. Okay, And in my case, no, I really didn't see it as a challenge. Being a woman, sitting on the chair, making decisions, doing most of the job, in the office and all that, having to deal with employees and stuff. No, it wasn't really challenging. Uh, Maybe it was, but I didn't see it, that way then, and I don't think I will see it that way now, because I believe that women, we are very capable.
Mhm.
We are very strong. And honestly, I am not a feminist, because I really think that, and I don't know if I should say it, but uh, I don't
Go
want to
ahead.
say that we are equal to men, but I think we both have, they both have their own strength. Let's put it that way. So no, I think that it depends, how you see it. To me, it wasn't a challenge. I just did what I had to do, and that's it. I always say something.
Right.
Um, Show up, be yourself, and own it.
No, that
You
makes a lot of sense. You would probably enjoy Kimberly Calhoun. She's one of the two owners of Pod TV and everything, but she is a engineer by trade and definitely doesn't put up with a lot of BS either from her male counterparts and all in that space, and has definitely been a leader in the business space. She's actually was involved with the laying down of some of the early fiber in terms of cable fibers and all of that, and definitely done a lot of work in the telecom field. So definitely she is another example of a strong woman out there. And actually my mother is another one, because her and my dad started a radio station when I was a youngster. So when I was a teen, they started a radio station in rural North Carolina that lasted for about 12 years, but it was their brainchild because they realized that they weren't hearing certain kinds of music, be that jazz music or blues music, and they definitely weren't hearing our issues being talked about by the mainstream news media. So they decided to do something about it, even though neither one of them had a radio background or even a media background for that matter. Mom was trained as a guidance counselor, and dad was trained as a engineer in the military, but more of like the not radio engineering, but the other kind of engineering and everything, and definitely had both dad and mom were involved in the civil rights struggles here and everything in that space. So they just saw an opportunity and made the opportunity versus trying to wait for somebody else to do it. So it sounds like you've got that same kind of positive mindset. And if there is something that you feel needs to be done, you're going to go ahead and get it done and not wait for others to do it for you.
Exactly, and that's that I think that's my nature, and to me it has resulted me. It gave me results. I don't think much of what it takes to do things. I just do them. And and then I think you even get to feel happier. Because you don't think too much of the suffering side.
Right.
I just do what I do, and I enjoy it. Take it one day at a time, and let's keep going. And here I
Right.
am.
That makes a lot of sense. One of the things I was curious about, and there was a couple of things I was curious about I was going to get to and everything. But one, you mentioned earlier that you were surprised when you came here about some of the things that you saw, including things that are still going on to this day. We're in the middle of getting out of the pandemic, and yes, you can walk around Durham, you can walk around parts of Virginia where I think you're based at and everything, and you walk around parts of other parts of the globe, and you can definitely see homeless people, maybe not as many as you used to see in your homeland of Honduras and everything. But was that something that surprised you in this land of milk and honey, that there are still folks out there that are struggling? And I'm sure you even run across them when you are servicing them to become clients of getting insurance and everything. But I was just wondering if that was something that shocked you, and how you deal with that when you first came here, because you do come from a country that is known for being relatively poor and all in that nature. And I do know a little bit about Honduras, because I remember a company that I work for now, which is a testing company. They used to have offices in a mall, and in that mall was also a diner restaurant kind of thing. And I want to say that those young ladies and the gentleman or two that were there as well were from Honduras. So I do remember that from Esmeralda, I think was the name of the company,
Oh,
if I'm
okay.
remembering correctly, and everything. So I got a chance to talk to them a little bit about Honduras. But were you surprised by some of the things you saw in the way of poverty here in the U.S.?
I definitely was. Absolutely, yes. Um, I know before I had never come to this country. I knew some family members have visited and people, but and the idea that we have there of the United States, it's like, and let me tell you, and it's different from every country in Latin America.
Right.
But in my country where I come from, okay, we see the United States like the best of the best, okay, which I know it is, to me, is the best of the best, among, the whole world. I love this country. I love this country. I came to this country and I know I'm going to die in this country. So, yes, but absolutely, I was shocked when I came here and I saw poverty. I saw a lot of, later on, I realized there was a lot of lack of knowledge. Although here you have, all the the ways to become somebody, you know the language, you have you were born here, you don't have to think that you're going to be deported one day if you don't have documents, and you have everything basically, at the tip of your fingers to do something great with your life. I mean, I believe that there is nothing that someone cannot be here. Like you can be anything you want basically in this country. You just have to take, advantage of the opportunities. So, but knowing that and seeing so many people homeless, okay, so many women going through hardship, single women, uneducated, how do you say it?
College educated?
Yeah, uneducated people still in this country when, education is public. So, it's really, surprising. Unfortunately, not, positively. But, the world is the world, right? And although there are very good things out there, everyone's head is, a whole world is their own. Everyone lives in their own, very own world. And it's up to, our mentalities, our decisions, and all that. It all boils down to that, to the decisions we make. So yeah, definitely, it was hard to see that, but now, I've been here, quite, and enough time, and I realized that even for myself, we live, as I said, we live in a system, but we don't know the system. And now that I am working, I am a financial professional in the making. I always say, because because I'm learning, and honestly, I'm relatively new. I just started 3 years ago doing this, and I'll tell you how I got here, because that was the original question. I still didn't answer it.
Yeah.
Yes, but I am, I'm still learning. I am a normal, regular, first, I would say a mom. I am a mother first, and then I am a woman, with dreams and challenges, and then of course I am a now, financial professional in the making.
Definitely. I definitely want to learn more about how you got involved with Shirley and everything. But I do know that sometimes we actually have a show called Que Pasa Mujer that deals with the Latin American community. I think that they're out of Virginia. And I want to say that one of the women is originally from Colombia. There might be somebody else that's originally from, might be somebody from Honduras. But I know that they're from various Latin American countries. And they're kind of doing a Latin American, almost like a View, where they talk about different issues and different thoughts and everything, and they do that every Sunday here on the network at 4:00 and everything. That's actually done by Viviana Andrade, and she's the lead of that, and then her cousin Nick Day and Maddie, who is a spoken word poet, and they might have some others that drop in as well. But a lot of times I think that as a general rule, there are two things that I think are misconceptions, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. One is that a lot of people feel that Latin America is like a monolithic group, that they're all the same. But as I know, somebody from Honduras may not be listening to the same music, because I do know about and I'm trying to think of the name of the music. It's a music that begins with G and everything, but I know that it is native to Honduras and all. in that space, and it'll come to me later as we're talking and everything, or you may even remind me of what that native Honduran music is. But somebody from Honduras may not listen to the same thing as people from Brazil, and somebody from Ecuador may not listen to the same thing as somebody from Cuba, and a number of other things. And then, of course, a lot of folks are always tying the immigration issue, and you did mention that you are an immigrant to the different Latin American countries, but we know that while there are people that are coming across illegally, there are a lot of folks that are coming across the right way and the legal way, and even some of those that are coming across illegally are coming in, their kids are getting the dreamer status and all of that, so they're able to also go through the right process of becoming citizens. But I just wondering your thoughts when you hear the news and they're always talking about Mexico and what's going on over there and some of the other negative aspects of Latin America.
Yeah, well, it is true. Everything you mentioned, it is very true. Personally, I think that, although we are Latin America, that doesn't mean that we are all the same, or we have the same, culture, same. We don't have, even same beliefs. We have sometimes even different morals. It depends, what region we come from. Even from my own country, we have different, I would say, how do you say, forget it. I'm not going to say the word. My English is not that well either. So, but we have different beliefs. Basically, that's what I want to say. Yeah, we speak differently. We have different accents. We have, different education because, as you know, in Latin America, we see a lot of this poor and rich, right, status, hierarchy when it comes to economics. So, there is a big disadvantage there, when it comes to those things, education. And I was lucky enough to have, some education. Although I was raised by a single mother, she was able, to provide for us, taught us, good morals, we had good academic, education and all that. We weren't rich. I consider we were kind of like middle class. Okay. Right. And, but yeah, I mean, we are all different. Latino, it doesn't mean we are all same race. That's another thing, because, we are, different, races. Just because we were born in Latin America, that doesn't mean, we all come from the same race. That's not the case, right? So it's a very wide or broad concept that when we come here to the United States, I see the I would say lack of information. Okay, when it comes to when they name us Latinos like Mexicans, they think, most think that Latinos, we are Mexican. Although, it is great. Being a Mexican, it is great, but it happens that we are not all Mexicans. We like to be called from where the country we come from. I am from Honduras. I have, some other roots too, but I was born in Honduras. So I am, Honduran. I am not Mexican, and I'm sure that everybody from, every different country, will think, the same way.
No, definitely. And the music I was trying to think of was Garifania, I think is the name of the music.
It's Garifuna. And we call it punta too, but it's Garifuna because we have the Garifunas on the north coast of Honduras. They came from Africa and stayed and colonized the north coast of Honduras. So that's why that's part of our culture now. Definitely, yes.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing I was curious about, and I mentioned it at the beginning, and you mentioned that you had decided to buy the house and everything. And I do know that I mentioned that Telenostro that my friend Dilsey was involved with. and everything. But definitely there is this notion of predatory lending and sometimes the banks not treating people all that well because of the language barriers and other barriers. So I was just wondering if that is something that you think is still prevalent, because I know that when she did that movie, I want to say it was in the early 2000s and everything in that space, but maybe they have started to do better regulations. But I sometimes get concerned when I see my Latin brothers and sisters being victimized by the banks and other institutions, and sometimes even being victimized by the phone cards, because we do know that sometimes those phone cards can get very expensive, even though you do want to stay in touch with your homeland, whether that's in Latin America or Asia or Africa or wherever it may be. But as one that is an immigrant, I was just wondering your thoughts about those two issues that I brought up at the beginning. But I was just curious, your thoughts, particularly as one that bought a house, and we do know that banks can sometimes do things that are not fair towards certain communities.
Yes. Um, I think that we are still seeing, discrimination, abuse, fraud committed against, minorities. Why? Because of our lack of knowledge of, the system, and also knowledge, basic, knowledge about mostly everything, and but I think that everything is, things are getting better, honestly, because not only because now we are not now we are the largest minority, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also technology
Right.
has come to change, the game. I would say the game for everybody. So now, I would say every single person in this country, regardless of ethnicity or, culture, whatever, owns a phone. If you have
Yeah.
a phone in your hand, oh my God, you have access to world class information, right?
Yeah.
And I think that has come to change a lot, a lot. All this situation with injustice and all this, that happened with um, uh, fraud and even racism, like,
Right.
which I saw it, and I've been, a victim of racism too, believe
Mm-hmm.
me, and not only by, Americans, but my own people. I was,
Mm-hmm.
I was, and and I consider myself, a little bit proactive and outgoing and extroverted, and still I've been a victim of it. But you know what? I'm still going back to the same thing. I am positive, and I'm not gonna, let anyone tell me what, and and no negative beliefs or comments about myself, are going to affect me because I know who I am. I
Yeah, you know who you are, and definitely that's a great thing. I was going to say that sometimes I am surprised by, even within our various minority communities, the racism that we expose on each other. Because I do know that I've had some friends of mine that were African American that worked for Asian companies and everything in that space, and sometimes they would feel that they were being discriminated against by the other minority and everything. And I know that there is that old story that we all know of the folks that will run into a elevator in an office complex and they will hear somebody speaking in their native language and automatically they will tense up feeling that the person is talking about them or doing something else in that space because they don't know what they are saying to each other. My personal opinion is that if y'all are speaking in Spanish, y'all are probably discussing the kids or maybe discussing which restaurant y'all want to go into, or you might even be talking about who the cute guy is in the office and everything in that space. But it probably doesn't have anything to do that's a direct attack on the person and everything along those lines and everything. But that's just some of my thoughts. But I do know sometimes that when you hear people speaking in a language that is not their own, that there is this stereotype that they must be talking about you or talking bad about you or something along those lines. So I'm sure you've run across that as well, where there are people in your office and when you're speaking in your native language, then they are tensing up. And I'll just leave it at that. And there are times that you probably have to tell them, look, I'm not talking about you. Get over yourself and everything.
Well, you know what? I think that it is common sense, really. It is common sense. I think that we live in a free country, right?
Right.
Honestly, we live in a free country, but we have to also have common sense.
Right.
Okay, and I understand. I love speaking my language. That's my language. That's how I feel comfortable. I can really express my thoughts, by my language. I still have trouble, expressing myself in English, and I've been here a few decades, and but guess what? I'm okay. I'm okay with that because I own it. I
Yeah.
have strength and I have weaknesses. Okay, so I still have to work in my English. But going back to the let's say to the work area, where especially with Shirley Liu in Shirley Liu's office, where we are, she has a worldwide, I would say,
Mhm.
associates, okay,
Right.
members, and it is very common to hear somebody speaking Nepali or Hindi or Spanish or English, of course, and I don't even remember which other ones. To me it's okay, but I think that we have harmony.
Right.
That's something great, okay, that we have, and that's something that I would like to later tell about it, that we are very, very blessed to be able to work with Shirley, because we have so many great things there, not only
Makes sense.
for ourselves, because she's amazing. She's an amazing human being before being a professional, and but just the opportunity that we have, to learn, and to really become somebody, and bring all that goodness and all that knowledge and all that power, to our communities. And but going back to the subject of the language and all that stuff, it is what it is.
Yeah.
We are, from different countries, and sometimes without even thinking, we're speaking our language, with the other ones. But it's just, it all boils down to common sense. I understand if there are other people, around me that don't speak my language, I will respect that, because I don't want them to think, what is she talking about? Or at least, I have to be kind enough, for them to understand what we are talking. So I think it's, it depends.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, common sense, everything. You mentioned the two kids, and I'm not sure how old they are now. They might be adults and everything, but we do know that social media has become a very big deal out there as well. And a lot of people are glad about, as you alluded to earlier, the social media. It can help with business, it can help with a number of other things, but it can also separate us from our children and our young people as well, because sometimes they get so engaged in it, and sometimes they don't stay engaged with their family and everything. And I do know that a lot of Latin American cultures, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them are very family oriented. So I just wondered if that has played a part in your own life, where you have had to tell your young adult kids to lay down and put down the cell phone or the VR equipment or everything else, and to actually sit down and have dinner with you and everything. And how have you dealt with that? Because I do know that it has become very popular. So I was just wondering your thoughts about it, because I know sometimes you can go to a restaurant and you see entire families and they're all on their devices, and you're going like, are y'all going to have a conversation with your other members of the group that are there, the family or your circle of friends or whoever you are eating with? But I'm just wondering how you have dealt with that as the mother of two daughters. And like I said, based on the conversation, I'm guessing they're either in their late teens or early 20s.
Yes, exactly. Well, it is definitely a challenge, let me tell you. And not only for them, as them being my kids, but it's a challenge for myself. Yes, you can get addicted so quick to certain things on the phone, right? So, but you know what? It's just one more challenge, in our plate. So, although it's very, very, it's a very delicate, subject, and an issue, really, that I would say every single household is, dealing with right now. And but you know what? That is just, again, I just see it. I don't complicate myself. I don't make a big deal out of it. I just deal with it on a daily basis. Because honestly, my daughters are, my older one is 21 and my little one is 14. Okay, very, very good ages. So and they live with their phone, and I think that life puts us through challenges depending on what era we are living, right? Because I remember my grandmother, being so like, making a big deal of things we did or we said, that now that's considered, oh my God, like that's nothing, But every time, every era comes with its own challenges. So now I think there is really no difference. It depends on how we think, how we see things, how we manage them, and also again it boils down to who you are. What are you teaching your kids? Because it's not only a phone, a cell phone, or technology can be seen as some people see it as something positive, something as something negative. I just see it as it is. It is. Okay.
Right.
It depends what you do with it. Okay. And how do you know? How you know what people is going to do with it? It doesn't have anything to do with it, but with who you are. Okay.
Yeah,
And so what do you do? What do you teach your kids? Way before. And of course, kids are kids, and they still need guidance and how do you say it? They need forget it. I forget the word, but they still need guidance. Okay.
yeah,
And even my 21 years old, she's an adult, but she still lives in my house. Okay.
yeah.
And I'm still asking her, where are you going? What time are you coming? And I already, and she knows, she knows, good from bad from, good and all the stuff. It's same my 14-year-old. So with my 14-year-old, I am able to block on her phone, certain content. You are able to do it through the phone company. So I
Right.
did long ago. So she doesn't have access to certain information out there. With my 21-year-old, it's a different story. That's her phone. She's an adult. She does what she wants to do. But still, she comes to me and she still asks, Mom, what do you think about this? What do you think I should do about this? And I tell her, what do you think you should do about that? And
So, yeah, because
uh-huh.
'cause that raises a couple of interesting questions. One is, like I said, at the late age of 60 and everything, because I just hit that back in last July, but still in that single space and everything. I do know that there are, but having friends that have had kids, and sometimes the kids like to be the keepers of their family's social calendar and everything. So I'm trying to figure out if Miss Rita or Miss Rena, I should say, is the keeper of the family blog, because we know back in the history that it was always the guy that would be the one that would be like the keeper of the dating track and everything. So it'd be like, nope, that one I'm not approving and everything. And I'm thinking that probably your children sometimes might even play that role with you when they're in your single space as well. So I just wondering if that was going on, where sometimes they are telling you if you're going out for a dinner date, nope, we don't like that guy. He's not the one. And maybe you're doing the same thing, Mr. Ramos, with some of their folks as well. So am I onto something there, or y'all have that kind of conversation?
No, you're right about that. Yes. Yeah, I am. First of all, my 14-year-old, she has no permission to date. No, yet. Okay. Yes. No, whatsoever. No. But my older one, yes. She does. And she actually, my older one, she's very opinionated, very, very strong-willed since she was very little. So she is the type of girl. She's not a very, she doesn't date a lot. She has a tendency of day one for a very long time. She's very conservative, opposite to my little one. My little one is more, extroverted, more, I would say, confident. My older one, she's more like, she has more questions. Is this right? Is this good? Is this? And I try to encourage her to, take or make her own decisions. So when it comes to boyfriends, she hasn't had, too many, but she has had, good ones. And I always told them, I will, although I wish I could choose for you, I know that I should not, and I want. I want to let them live and be and learn, because that's the only way, they will be able to survive and have a good life. I always tell them, I want you to be, amongst everything, please be good citizens. Okay.
Right.
You don't have to be perfect, but be a good citizen. Learn what, being a good citizen is. So you're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I am old, I'm almost 50 years old now, and I still make mistakes, and that's okay. We don't know everything. And actually right now, I let me tell you, they are more, I would say, I don't know if it's jealous, when it comes to me, but I am having a hard time, dating, because they are always, who are you talking to? Or, mom, this late talking to a guy? And I say, it was, business, my business, right? And, they are, that kind, they are very, but why? Because, I'm their mother, I'm the head of, the house. And I think that they see me as, theirs. But
Well, not exactly, but I've got some friends that are in that same age range. Like I said, I hit 60, but I definitely got friends in the 50 and 40 range. And I do know that sometimes there is a notion, and that might be what your daughters are trying to protect you from, because there is a notion of some men are intimidated by successful women. I've actually had this conversation with Shirley as well. So I just wondered if that was something that you've run across, because I do know that there are men that are intimidated by a successful woman, and sometimes they will rule out even successful women in another realm, because they're very successful blue collar women, but definitely finances is not a blue collar field. But I just wondered if that's something that you have run across, because I do know that there are folks, I've got some friends of mine that have told me that they have sometimes even decided to jump the cultural landscape and go to a different culture, because they felt that certain cultures weren't as opinionated about that as certain other ones were. But I was just wondering your thoughts around that, because there are definitely some folks that are, like I said, blatantly intimidated by those that are making more money or have more quote unquote power than they do. And sometimes people want that certain kind of car or that certain kind of house as well. So there's that materialistic aspect that goes on in all of our cultures. But I was just wondering your take on that and your thoughts around that.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, based on my experience, unfortunately, yes, men are intimidated by successful women. And but it depends successful on what or how or to what extent. After all, women that we try to succeed in life, regardless of the field, okay, we are still women. We have hearts. We have minds, good minds. That's true. But we are women, and I think that, and that's something that I'm very, very clear about. As I mentioned before, I am not a feminist. I am actually, I think that men has a very, very, I would say, powerful place in the world, in the family role. And I mean, men are men, but women, we are women, and we both have, our, strengths and weaknesses. So I think we complement, each other. But yes, I've been single, divorced from quite a few, almost a decade now, and I am still single, because I don't get to. I don't know. I'm just myself, and that's something that I'm not afraid of too. I own myself. And that, I think that scares men. I don't know why. Because I think women who know what they want, who know what they know, and they are capable to give even more than some that aren't. Not that they are not going to get there, but we are kind of ready, but I guess men are not prepared. Most, not all, because I know there are some, out there, but most aren't prepared to take on, women or a woman, with these characteristics.
No, that's very true. A lot of men are intimidated by strong women, no matter what their culture is and everything. So that is very much the case and everything. What advice do you give to your daughters about finance, because I know a lot of young people are thinking about getting those lovely credit cards, which we know can be a detriment, or getting those debit cards, or getting a number of other things. If they're going off to college, then they'll be recruited left and right by both everything from MasterCard to the celebrity-backed credit cards that might have a name like Puff or Russell Simmons or something else on them and everything, or maybe I think even Bruno Mars might have a credit card with his name and everything on it and everything. But I was just wondering, what are some of the advices that you're going to give to your, particularly the 21-year-old, but even the 14-year-old, because a lot of them are going to be inundated with things that are going to be trying to get them further in debt, whether that's a student loan or whether that's a credit card or whether that's a debit card or whatever else. So what financial advice do you give to your two young daughters?
Yes, I think that first of all, I think nowadays we need to be more proactive and more inclusive when it comes to that subject, especially with our kids, because just because of the times we are living right now, technology, everything is, they have access to everything, and there are these people, or I don't know, banks, I don't know how to say it, but they are, they're not looking who they are, going after. They just want, people to come and become their clients and try to get the most out of them. And but again, it's a two sides, situation, because although credit, I think that we are abusing it because of the lack of knowledge, but credit can be very, very helpful too. And when it comes to my daughters, I am educating them about that. And not only that, I am planning on putting them through a financial literacy course. Okay. Because I know a lot now about it, but I didn't know before. I even went through bankruptcy. I had to learn the hard way. Okay. But I talk to my daughters. I have taught them about, the products that I sell, and not only that, one day they will become, the owners of what I have, what I'm doing right now, and which is good. It's growing. I am a single woman, self-made, and everything that I have is being hard earned. And I don't want to put it, into my daughter's hands, and they will see, oh my God, this is, easy, which I've seen it. I even see it in my family, and when you put, easy money on your kids' hands, they will blow it out like in no time. And I don't want that to happen to my daughters. I am even now dreaming of creating generational wealth, which is possible. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with my community right now. But with them, I know that I have to put them through a financial, literacy course. And I think I've heard of one. I can recall it right now, but I know there are a few out there, especially designed for kids to understand it, with easy terms, basics, principles. They need to know that. And I think every single child should go through it, not because, their parents are there yet, but because there is it is very easy now. Well, not easy, but, it is easier nowadays, to really become, I would say, wealthy, maybe. So we have to learn, because making money is not the same thing as keeping it or growing it, So we have to learn all those different concepts. And I'm trying with my daughters. I have policies on them, for them, that I'm paying myself. I'm growing their wealth already. Okay. And I know that at some point, I think I will do it until very later, because my daughters are very, they have been kind of overprotected by me. So I know that I have to be a little bit more, they will need more information. I cannot give them, the power yet. So hopefully by the time they turn 27, those accounts will be turned to them, and they will be, responsible enough to manage, those things, because this is powerful, Mark.
No, it's very powerful, no doubt about that and everything. How did you first get involved? And we're going to wind down very shortly and everything, but how did you get involved with Miss Shirley and everything, and how did that come about? And is there any possibility, because you mentioned the business that you had with your husband, of the HVAC, of your going into any other entrepreneurial businesses of your own, or maybe you'll be winding up doing both? Because I know that in talking to one of the other gentlemen, I think it was Nathan, he has still got some interest in doing the medical field, because that's where he came out of and everything. But he is also very much committed to working with Shirley. And I know that there was another gentleman that I had on, and I can't think of his name, but he was a athlete. So I know he's doing some stuff in the athletic space, even though he was I want to say an NFL player, and works with Shirley as well, and is definitely still involved in that youth advocacy while working with Shirley. So I'd love to hear more of your story, and whether there is any other entrepreneurial businesses that you are planning to launch, and maybe there are people around the world that are interested in whatever your entrepreneurial business is, and maybe they'll help you in that aspect also. So tell us a little bit about, one, how you got involved with Shirley, and if there are any entrepreneurial businesses that you are planning. Maybe you're going to launch another HVAC company, this time run by you instead of run by your ex-husband and everything. But love to hear about these thoughts.
Okay, sure. I will finally answer that question. I went around and around and around. Okay, I will answer that question now. Okay, I came across with the financial industry, as I said, 3 years ago. I was, a single mother, hard worker. I had my full-time job, 9 to 5. Okay. And earning, I will say, well, it wasn't bad, really. But still, I wasn't still building, wealth. I didn't have clear those concepts. I knew that I wanted to do something better, provide in a better way for my daughter, for myself. And I also knew that I had the potential, to do something remarkable, outstanding. Okay. I just didn't know how to do it. But something in my mind said, no, I know that there must be a way. Time, it was kind of running against me, because, although I'm still young, but I don't have the time or the resources. I didn't have the time or the resources to really go back and pursue a career of, 6-8 years or something like that. And besides, I didn't have the energy, honestly. But, I mean, if I had, maybe, I would, but it wasn't the case. And I had a big responsibility, my daughters. Okay. I was single already, and I had dreams, and so I used to go to bed every night with a little bit, with fear in my chest. What happened if something happened to me? How my daughters are going to do, to deal with the situation, not only at the moment, but later, later on in life. So I used to go to bed, so, thinking. I used to pray. I'm very spiritual. I'm Christian. And I used to pray, when I go to bed, and before I get up in the morning, I always do it. But I still, thought I need something, and I didn't know how to acquire it, because it was hard. I was already working, a full time, sometimes between, as I said, 8 or 12 hours, and taking care of my daughters, taking care of my personal life, and trying to figure out, I was figuring out what to do. I was, reading, looking, asking. I mean, what didn't I do? So one day, a lady approached me and offered me a life insurance. So when she talked to me about it, I said, yeah, life insurance. Okay, it's good. I know that if I die, my daughters will have some money, that will help them. I didn't know how much money I was going to, or coverage I was going to be able to afford, or anything like that. But I said, okay, why not? So she gave me an appointment. We sat, she explained to me. And when she was explaining, and I read, oh my God, life insurance is not, what I used to think of. It's totally different nowadays. So I realized that life insurance, it does not only has a death protection coverage, but it has living benefits. And that was awesome for me, because I always thought, oh my gosh, what happened if I get one of those, terrible illnesses like cancer, diabetes, heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's, all those things, right? And I say, how am I going to do to finance that, especially in this country where, the health system is, very expensive. Let's be real about it. I've seen with my own eyes, fortunes, going down to nothing because of illness in this country. And then when she showed me that, no, that, for a fair amount, a month or daily, whatever you want to call it, you can get coverage, you can be protected. And if, one of these things happen, you'll be, at least you have peace of mind that you know where the money is going to be coming from. You're not going to have to worry only, worried, not just for, the thing you have to go through because you're ill, not only because you have to pay bills. How are you going to pay bills? How I was going to pay bills in case, if I got sick, who was going to bring the food to my table for my daughters and all that, right? So I realized that all those things were covered inside the policy. And then not only that, she showed me, that you can save, within the policy and earn compound interest. What's compound interest? I knew numbers, but I didn't know, the depth, of the concept. And then she told me, and I said, for real? Are you kidding me? And no, she said, no, yes, this is true. And then she showed me an illustration where you can see, all the projected numbers, and years and all that stuff. And I said, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I need. This is what I had been looking for. I'm a single mom, trying to give the best to my daughters, to make the best for myself, but I didn't have the protection. I didn't even have the I couldn't even think about long term. I couldn't think about retirement then. I couldn't think about generational wealth. Those were terms that were not in my vocabulary. Okay. So I realized, the power that there is now within the insurance industry. And I said, oh my God, this is it. This is it. And I knew a little bit of numbers already, and then combined with all the power that there is within these financial vehicles, because this is what they are, and in knowing that there is access for everybody. It's not like before it used to be for the very wealthy, right. But now it's out there for everybody. And I said, oh my gosh, this is it. So I asked her, how do you think I can do this? Can I work on it? She said, yes, of course, you can do it. And what do I need? And she said, well, you need this. And I had it all. And I said, why not? The only thing that I liked then, it was time.
Right.
And because, you need time, you need to study, you need to pass tests, and, the whole thing. But guess what? I still work my full time, and I used to study when I came back from work and went to bed. I used to open my laptop and fell asleep studying. My daughters used to come, close my laptop, and, until the next day. Yeah. I made it. I did it in 3 months. I got my license within 3 months. And then, I started it. Let me tell you, this was with a different company, which I don't want to talk much about it because I don't want to, give that importance to them. Right. Honestly, it was a very negative experience that I had with them. I started well, but as time went through and I started knowing the system and realizing, what was going on within it, it really discouraged me a lot, to the point that I got out, and really that set me back, I will say financially, 1 to 2 years.
Wow.
Yes. And but you know what? I said, okay, I'm going to rest from this right now. And but I kept hopeful and always with an open mind. And someday somebody from Shirley's office approached me and offered me the opportunity. I was very kind of, I would say, reluctant because of the experience that I've had before, but I still was willing to listen. And within I would say, couple of meetings, I was convinced that I wanted to try it. And I came on board, and believe me, this is one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, in my
Wow.
entire life. And I'm very happy now because I'm working with Shirley. I'm with the master. Okay, I'm learning every day. I learn something different from her, and because she's really a genius. Okay, she knows what to do with the tools, because now we have so many tools out there, and she knows what to do. She finds these, holes, and I would say loopholes, or I don't know how you call it, but she makes magic, when it comes to wealth creating with these tools. I mean, it is amazing. So I'm lucky, to be able to work with her, learn from her, leverage her. So right now I find myself working with a Latino group within the office, and we are, outreaching our community. So imagine, and answering your question about going back to HVAC business and all that, no, I am not. I am definitely not, because I found what I love. I found passion into this. I am this coming Sunday. We have a presentation for our community, a financial presentation. We are calling it how we are calling it. Impacto financiero.
Okay.
Financial impact. We're going to be talking about all these tools available to our community, that they still don't know about it. As a Latino community, I realize that we are very smart. We are hard workers. We produce a lot. I know that we are the largest or greatest force behind the GDP in this country. So we have potential, okay? But we still don't know the system. We live in the system, but we don't know it. There are so many things that we need to learn. And now I am committed. I'm going to, add my, little grain of sand, to it. And I'm going to do my best. I'm working with my team. I have my team come from me down, because I'm one of the, I would say Latinos in the office. And we're working hard, but more than hard, passionate, because we are going to empower our community, with all this information. And the beautiful thing is that they don't need to earn millions or not even thousands, to be able to take advantage of this. So our future generations have hope, and I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, because I know my daughters, will be way, way, way better than I am, and I know that all our future generation, like especially our, Latino community, and actually the whole country, because we can bring this information. It's still not known to them, okay? And but it takes time. It is challenging, especially depending on the sector where you're going. It is very challenging, but I'm not afraid of challenges, so I'm going for it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're afraid of challenges at all. And like I said, you're ready to wind down. But one of the things that I ask all my guests, well, one of them I'm going to add, because I don't always ask this one, because don't always have people from Honduras on and everything. But the three questions I wanted to hear toward the end is, one, how folks can reach you, and if there's any social media or other things that is available for folks if they wanted to reach out to you to hear more about what you're doing with Shirley Lewin, maybe even getting one of those various insurance packages that you are out there making available and all of that. And of course, one of the things I do on just about all my shows is it is a global network. Pod TV it's heard in about 200 or so countries and everything in that space at one time or another. So that being said, any message of positivity or hope is something that I try to get any guest that I am talking to or interviewing to share with our global community. So any message of positivity or hope that you can share, I would definitely love to hear that. And then last but not least, because we don't always get people from Honduras on, if there is something
I didn't hear that very last part, Mark. Connection, it's not good, I think.
particular country that they places. So anything that you can share it.
I'm not able. I think I heard the first half of the first half. I couldn't hear the second. I think the connection is not well, so I
Yeah, the
couldn't hear
connection
this.
might have messed up. I'll repeat it one more time. That's no problem and everything. What I was asking you is if you can share something that we don't know about Honduras, if you can give a message of positivity and hope for our global audience, and any way that you can be contacted as well. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that you will come back again in the near future. You were nervous, but you didn't have to be nervous. You did a great job and everything. And I hope that I helped at least make you a little bit less nervous and also got you to think about some amazing questions and all in that space. But I definitely hope that you will come back, and I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you for the first time. And hopefully we'll get a chance to meet maybe even in person at some point or another as well. But I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, definitely. I was actually. I think you're great. I really like you very much already, and yeah, I'm not nervous anymore, and I pretty quick I forgot about it, because I just started getting into the conversation, and thank you so much. You really made me feel at home, honestly. Yes, but going back to your question, well, I can be. I have my phone number. I can give it on air if you want, if you allow me to.
Yes, please.
Okay, it is 571-442-6904. I have my website. I don't have it handy right now, but I have two websites that our company is providing with to us. And I also have a good presence in social media via Facebook. I'm a fifth year old, so my kids tell me, yes, mom, Facebook is for you. Not Instagram, not TikTok, and all those things. Although I'm gonna go into it, but I appear on Facebook as Rina Garcia. That's my father's name. I use Rina Ramos as still it's my ex-husband's name, but I go by Rina Garcia because I'm very proud of my name. I go by it in social media, so they can find me like that there, and yeah, we have here we are in the area of Northern Virginia. I moved to West Virginia about a year ago, but I am so close to the it's called the Panhandle, which includes the Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia, and not far away DC. So I am in the area, and I go almost on a daily basis to Virginia, to our office in the area of McLean, where Shirley's SLA office is. And so I can be reached out either physically there, or by my phone number, or via Facebook as Rina Garcia. And then going back to something good about my country. Okay, let me tell you, the best about my country is us, the people. Yes. We are really not only great people, but we have great women, and this is something I take pride on, because I have the fortune to meet a lot of women in this country really successful. And let me tell you, more than Honduran men. I'm not saying that they are, less successful, but my experience is that I have met really strong, powerful women from my country, and that's encouraging. And even I feel that it puts a little bit more of responsibility on myself, because I said, you know what, I have to live up to. I come from a family where women are super strong too, and I said, I cannot, do less than they did. I have to, step up and do better. So my daughters now tell me, Mom, oh my God, we have a big responsibility because, are we even going to be ever, a little bit like you are? And I said, of course, you're going to be better than I am. And it's not because I am a big shot or anything like that. No, I'm just, I don't try to be big. I just try to be myself and do the best I can. So definitely the best we have in our country is our people. Sadly, we have the situation, the political situation, we have the crime situation, the economic situation, everything. It is not the best, and it's not what I would like, it to be. But I have hope, as with everything else in life. I have hope, for my country. I have hope for my people there. I have hope for my community, Latino community here. I have hope for the whole world. We have to be positive. We have to spread, light, love, and imagine if we all do that. I mean, we're gonna have totally a different world, not because we don't have challenges, but because we can overcome the challenges easier, in a better way. So, and last but not least, what I want to say is that you can always, regardless where you're coming from, where you are at in life, if you have gone through hardship or not, because we all come from different walks of life. Do something always. Okay, show up, be yourself, and own it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I go by it, and that has given me results. And I think that's it, because in the end, we are all human beings. No one is perfect. No one, absolutely no one. And we all have strengths and weaknesses. And the same way we own our strength, we have to own our weaknesses. And I'm not, ashamed or shy, because let's say one of my weaknesses that I think I'm a little bit conscious about it is my English. Because I know I could done better about it, but I will. So and I said, so what? I am, I'm still trying. I'm doing a lot. I'm successful from my point of view, and I feel happy. And I'm giving out, to my community, giving out, doing the best for my family, for myself. And yeah, if I make a mistake, I ask for forgiveness. And we all make mistakes. So if there is someone out there that is afraid of making mistakes, I don't know. They're just missing out because guess what? Somebody is watching me right now and probably saying, "Oh, she has an accent, but she's still, speaking and being herself." And yeah, it works. They make mistakes. I'm sure you make mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes, no matter what. Even sometimes, and one thing you got to do is sometimes you work through the mistakes and not let the mistakes be known. Because even I can tell you, even doing a podcast and television shows, mistakes are made, but you can't sit there and fret over the mistakes. You just kind of like let the mistakes be made and deal with the mistakes and everything. As a matter of fact, I was recording a show earlier today and a banner was misplaced on that, but it lasted for like all of about 2 seconds. And like I said, hopefully the people won't notice it, or if they do notice it, it was just a simple mistake that was made and everything. And I'm not going to sit there and fret or worry about it, because that's where you get in trouble, when you fret about it and everything. I know that even when I've done public emceeing, there is times that I have been worried or stumbled across some things, but I can sit there and worry about it, or I can wait for the next announcement and go and correct it the next time around, or not fret about it. But yeah, too often we get caught up in our own head and too worried about what the mistake was and let that weigh us down. So I agree with what you said. We don't need to have it weigh us down in the least bit, because that can get us in all kinds of trouble in that space and all in that way. It does sound to me, and I said we were getting ready to wind down, and I did mean that earlier, but I was wondering, are you also on LinkedIn? Because you said you're not on Instagram, but I know a lot of people are also on LinkedIn. So I was wondering if you're on LinkedIn, because I do know a lot of people on both that and Alignable, and both of those are more business kind of sources. So I was wondering if you are on LinkedIn. And the absolute last question I was going to ask, because you alluded to it a couple of times, it does seem that faith and a belief in a higher power is very important in your own life. So I was just wondering if you could just share with our audience how important that is to you, because I get the impression, based on the multicultural aspect of Shirley Lou, that while you are a Christian, you do not knock those that might be from other cultures, as long as they understand that there has got to be a guiding force that is guiding the journey, when whatever they want to call God is up to them. Some people may say God, some people may say Allah, some people may use other terms as well, but it does seem like you have a very faith-based kind of life. And I just wondered if you could share with us the importance of that in your own life.
Yes, definitely, I will. Yeah, you know that I like the phrase that it says that when the student is ready, the master appears.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've seen it many times in my life, and it is curious because just about over a week ago, I was thinking, oh my God, you know what? I don't have a LinkedIn account, and I think I'm gonna have to create one, or I can even have someone to create one for me to make it look very professional, And then yesterday, when I was setting up my computer for your show, because I didn't have the right system, to that supported your show, and then appeared there, something came out about LinkedIn and all that, and I told my daughter, oh my God, I was thinking about creating a LinkedIn account and I didn't do it. I should have done it when I thought about it. And but no, I don't have it, but I will create it soon, like within tomorrow probably. I need it, and I know it's very important. It is a professional site where you can establish connections and all that. For some reason that I don't know, it slipped out of my hands and I didn't do it. I thought about it a long time ago, and then I forgot, because let me tell you something, I'm busy, very busy, and I barely have time to do even my personal stuff. But that's okay. That's one part of my life right now, and I'm enjoying it, and it's okay. But I will create a LinkedIn account. And then the other thing was about my faith. Yes, I was born and raised Catholic, and but I like reading, and pretty early I started reading about not only the Bible but other books, and I learned, that the spiritual concept is broader than a religion. So I don't consider myself religious. I consider myself spiritual. We are all spiritual beings in, flesh, human bodies. So I'm not really concerned about, framing people inside religions, although I know that's something very strong, amongst the world. Yeah, of course, I think of myself as Christian because I really believe, in Jesus Christ faith. But I think it goes above and beyond. I respect, others' decisions, and I think that's part of coexisting and living in harmony and just being loving. As I said, I'm Christian, and Christian teaches us that we have to love others the way we expect to be loved, and we have to show it. It's not saying it, but we have to show it. And so how we show it, by being just understanding, and sometimes you don't have to exactly agree, but you have to respect. You have to use common sense, and then we coexist. So yeah, but I'm definitely spiritual. I believe now. I love metaphysics, and because everything is correlated. It's really one whole big concept, and then we start to separate them as depending on where we come from and all those things. But I know that there is a greater power where we all come from, or we are part of it, and that's what really matters to me. I'm not concerned about religion, not even for my daughters. They're free to choose whatever they want to do or be. Is up to them. But I am just injecting in them good morals, good values, and teaching them there is a God. We come from somewhere, and we are part of that somewhere. Okay, so that's my belief.
No, and that makes a lot of sense and everything. I know that I was actually having a conversation with a friend and they shared a joke. I probably butchered the joke, but it was actually kind of hilarious and everything. But it was up there in heaven's gates, and I think it was Gabriel or one of the other archangels was over there. And several people had met the end of their life, so they were going up to heaven's gates. And the first person came up, and Gabriel said, "Well, you go over there to section 7." And so he went over to section 7, didn't ask a lot of questions, anything else. But Gabriel also said, "But whatever you do, be very quiet when you get by section 2. Don't make any noise. Just go to section 7. Be very quiet when you get to section 2." So the next person went up, and Gabriel said, "Well, you go to section 4, but whatever you do, be very quiet when you get to section 2. Don't say a thing. Just be very quiet when you get to section 2." So the third person came up there and they were like, "So you go to section 3, you're the third person, you go to section 3, you're going to go right by section 2. Be very quiet when you go by section 2. Be very quiet." So the fourth person came up there, and, fourth person was probably a journalist like me and was very curious and everything. So they were like giving the same instructions as like, "You go to section 5, and he had heard the other people. He's like, "You want me to be quiet when I go by section 2, but I got one question for you. Why am I being quiet when I go by section 2? And Gabriel paused for a minute, looked around, checked with God and the other angels and everything. He said, "Because they think that they're the only ones up here."
Oh, okay. Yes. Exactly. Yes. That's how it goes. Well, so I guess we just have to, use our common sense, be respectful, be loving, and, that's it.
That's what it's all about. Like I said, Rena, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to play one of the other commercials, and not the long 158 one, but another one that also features that lady that I think was in the 60s or 70s that's part of the team. I haven't had the pleasure of interviewing her yet and everything, but I do know that I'm looking forward to hearing some of these people when they come by, as Elizabeth gives me different folks. But definitely, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to hopefully having you come back on another time and everything. And I might have to come up there and see if there's a native dish to Honduras that I'm going to grab as well.
I will make baleadas. We'll make you baleadas. That's our typical dish. Yes. Although we'll have to buy them. I don't know how to make them. But yeah, those are the ones. Yeah.
Right,
thank you so much for having me over. And, it was really, really enjoyable. And you're great. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you back. And definitely we'll be back next week with another episode of Shirley Lou with more people from the office and everything. But right now we're going to get on out of here. And I've got to do a show from somebody in Los Angeles. And I think they'll be talking about the entertainment industry. And that is The Real Girls Rock that comes our way with Tammy Faye. And she was actually friends with, I think, managed Sunshine, who was a local musician here for a while. But they talk a lot about entertainment and just life in general. But that'll be coming our way at 4:00. And we might have some reruns in the meantime and all in that space. But definitely, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And we'll be back next Tuesday at around 1:00 with another episode of the Shirley Lou Show. And who knows, maybe even Shirley Lou will pop in, because she's popped in on a couple of them and everything. We never know, because I know that it's a very busy office and she is a very busy lady and everything. But we're glad to give this opportunity for people to learn about various aspects of financial life and the importance of it, and also just learn about the folks that are working in the office as well. So we're going to get on out of here, and I'm looking forward to catching up with Rena on another time later on. But this has been a fun conversation, and let's get on out of here.
Thank you.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, powered by First Financial Security, our mission is to help all people achieve financial security and peace of mind.
My team and I are here to help you reach financial security tomorrow and for generations to come.
She is one of the most sincere and compassionate people that I will ever meet in my life. She sincerely wants to build a legacy where no young woman that she meets is left destitute, that they are able to be self-sufficient, to provide for a family in an emergency, to build for their future and for future generations.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, we are changing the face of insurance and retirement plans. Our mission is to lead, empower, and grow. We are the home of tax-free retirement. We provide comprehensive planning for businesses, rollovers for retirees, and individual personal financial planning.
I'm a very people-oriented person. It's important for me to make sure my clients feel in a safe environment, make sure I feel in a safe environment, that I can trust the people that I'm working with. And I feel that here working with Shirley and my team. These people are more like family to me.
We believe entrepreneurship is a possibility for all walks of life.
Reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation to see how we can help.